All right. We interrupt this program, A.T. Hagan Developments, Part 2. Lisa came in by the front door after first shaking the ice and water off of her coat on the front porch. "It's freezing out there," she explained. "If I had known the sleet was freezing, I'd have come home an hour ago. I haven't had to drive on ice-covered roads since we left Ohio. The way it's coming down and the temperature's dropping, I may not be able to go back in tomorrow until it melts. There's probably not a snow chain or studded tire in the whole county." John said, "You're just in time for supper. I'm sure a hot meal will improve matters." He clicked the radio off and the family went into the kitchen to eat. The normally talkative meal was quiet as the three girls spoke little among themselves. Lisa and the two men spoke of the day's events and the weather, but this did not seem to fill the void. Finally, the meal was over, so the two men put on their coats, hats, and slickers, then headed to the greenhouse. Ice was beginning to coat every surface on the ground, and the ground was becoming slick. By the time they'd inspected the roof and that of the barn, workshop, house, and hen house, to be sure there wasn't going to be a problem, it was full dark, and the wind began to pick up. They went inside the greenhouse and stoked the makeshift stove they had built to heat the structure. After an hour or so, they laid out where the tables and tray racks would go and began to diagram the structures to determine how much material they would need. They had just begun to move wood from the workshop into the greenhouse when the lights went out. John sighed. "Well, it's blowing 30 miles an hour out there and coating everything with ice. I suppose we should have expected it would take the lines down." He pulled the little mini-mag flashlight off of his belt and turned it on. "Let's just call it a night. My leg's killing me anyways." He and Robert put on their hat and slickers and began heading towards the house. A light could be seen shining from the kitchen window. Robert said, "Looks like the girls got one of the lamps lit." They had just stepped up on the porch and took their hats off when Heather came through the door in her coat and hat. "Uncle John," she exclaimed, "I was just coming out to get you. Mr. Strickland's on the radio and wants you to come over right away. He says he shot a man in his barn."